You're listening once again to Open Heart with Lisa. And I am Lisa. And before I get started, I want to just say this little disclaimer and let you know what Open Heart with Lisa is and what Open Heart with Lisa is not. Open Heart with Lisa is not a therapy session with a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a marriage counselor. I'm not either of those. Rather, what I am providing is a platform so that men can come on and have candid, provocative conversations, primarily focusing on matters of the heart, their relationship issues. And they're giving it from the male's perspective. Ladies, I don't want you to get upset. I don't want you to be offended by anything that you hear my male guests say, because they're speaking from their life's experience. They're speaking about the relationship that they've had. So I just want all of us just to listen as each man that I bring on shares his heart. Now, I also want you to know that our male guests will always be anonymous. And you might ask, well, Lisa, why are they anonymous? Well, they're anonymous because they will feel free to speak openly. They'll feel free to speak candidly, and we'll have the opportunity to learn more about their experience. Now, this is our second conversation, and since the person is anonymous, we're calling him Kevin from Virginia. And this week we're talking about forced out, F-O-R-C-E-D, out. In other words, what happens when a wife no longer wants to be married, and the man now has to redefine his life. He now has to move out the house. He now is no longer under the same roof with his children. How does he feel? So we have a gentleman on by the name of Kevin, and he's here again, and we're going to pick up from Kevin. You on the line?
Hi, yes, Kevin here.
Okay. We're going to pick up, Kevin, from where you left off. And for those of you who didn't hear yesterday's conversation, please go on my YouTube, Facebook, go on and listen to the first conversation. But, Kevin, we're going to go to where you left off when you were talking about when your wife wanted to have 2 weeks alone, and she asked you to leave the residence, and you were kind enough to give her that space.
Okay.
But I want to come back to now that you're home, you walk through the door. Did you come home thinking that maybe you all could work this situation out in your marriage?
Okay. To answer the question, I just want to say, while I was waiting for those 2 weeks, it was one of the most painful experiences that I have ever experienced yet in my life. And when I did return home, I have what you would call hope. Maybe it would be what it should be. But it was just the opposite. It was even worse. I mean, there was a resentment, cold nature about her in every aspect that you can look at. So it was not something that made me feel any better.
Okay.
It made me feel worse.
Were you able to come home? When you came home, did you give her a kiss? Were you able to embrace her, or she didn't want to receive you like that anymore?
No, she didn't see me like that. The response, you can just look at someone and see how they feel by the way that they distance themselves from you. There's no genuine smile. Oh, hi, how are you? I feel better. I'm glad. So at that point, what I did, I just accepted it at the point of where it was at. And I had a discussion. I said, listen, I know what's going on, and let's talk about it. I said, I will forgive you. I said, we can fix this and make it work. She was unwilling to accept that. The response was like, being that I'm putting myself out there to say, well, let's fix this. Let's move beyond it. And I'll forgive you because the reason why I said I'll forgive you because it was obvious to me at that point what was going on.
Okay, when you said that you would forgive her, you would be able to, whatever was going on, you'd be able to look past it, because the main thing I guess you wanted to do was keep your family together.
And I wanted to stay with her.
Of course.
I wanted to keep my family together, and I wanted to be with her.
Okay.
Lisa, sometimes, both men and women are sometimes afraid to admit. You have to follow where your heart is at, and accept it. If the conditions are not right, then you work on it.
Okay, I got it. So once you got home and you realized that you didn't have this warm reception, and you could tell that your wife, I guess, really just did not want you to be there, how did that make you feel? Did you feel worse? No, this is what I want to know. When you were away for the 2 weeks, you told me how devastated you were. Once you came home and you realized, I guess this woman really doesn't want me, was that a worse feeling than what you were feeling when you were gone for those 2 weeks?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The 2 weeks is that you're hoping that the 2 weeks would work. Maybe she's had time to reconsider things and look at herself, whatever. You're looking at it from maybe a possibility of it's going to work out.
Okay.
So when you get the news that is not going to work out, it's devastating. I mean, it's like the
when
feeling.
When did you find out, though? When did you find out? Because I think this is the part I really want to hear, because this is the defining moment. When did you find out something was really wrong, and you almost were sure now she's got somebody else? What exactly happened?
Well, okay, to answer that question, I just want to say she had already said she was out numerous times having on a date. She didn't say date, but I'm saying that having tea with someone. So, okay, with a guy. Okay, so one Saturday, she went out one Saturday night and spent the night out. So I'm worried sick. Not so much worried about something happening to her, because, I'm not looking at you're going to get dressed up and you put your best clothes on, your perfume, just for something to happen to you. It's by design she's staying out. So anyway, her friend called at 6 a.m. in the morning. I'm up all night long, looking out the window, standing on the terrace. And a friend called at 6 a.m. and asked me, was she home? Because they were in a club.
Okay.
Last night, that Saturday night, around 3 a.m. she left. And, she just wanted to make sure she was home and safe. And I said, yes, she's home. She's upstairs asleep. Well, she wasn't. 20 minutes later, the bus pulls up. I'm on the terrace, like I said. Feeling pain like multiply a million toothache and a headache.
Oof. Yeah,
okay.
You were suffering. You were suffering.
So, because I really love her. The thing that helps you get over it, things is to admit whether it's weakness or strength. You have to just look at it for what it really is, the truth. So when she got off the bus, she came in. I said, where were you? She said, I spent the night with my friend because it was too late to come home. Well, my friend had just called me 20 minutes earlier.
Oh,
so
that was the friend who called at 6 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I put 2 and 2 together and got 5.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Because that was incorrect what she said. So that was particular morning, I had an engagement to do in the studio, and I was in charge of the production. And it was as if I had never experienced being in charge of anything. I was like devastated. People looking at me and saying, "Hey, are you here, guy?" It's on another planet. I wanted to cry, but somehow the environment stopped me from, the people that I was working with at the time.
Yeah, it was hard for you to focus because you were in so much pain.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
been there, done that. I understand.
the worst pain to me as a person you can get is from a mental. That's why when they say mental cruelty, well, that's exactly what happened to me. So at that point, I decided it's obvious she does not love you. So I made my decision to leave.
Let me ask you a question, because how did you, because these are two separate matter of the heart questions. How did it feel? How did you feel knowing that she had probably given her heart to somebody else?
It hurt.
And then how did it feel knowing that the intimacy?
It hurt. That's the whole song. Every word is the same. It hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to accept it.
Let me ask you another question. How did you feel knowing that someone was touching your wife in a way that you used to touch her? Because I remember you telling me that, your sexual involvement had dwindled once you went on that country drive. That was the end of the sexual contact.
Well, the funny thing about that, Lisa, resentment makes you, for some strange reason, it intensifies your passion for someone. I don't know, is it simply because you are fearing
you're talking about yourself.
Something?
So what you're talking about yourself. So you're saying when she was denying you,
it intensified.
It intensified for you. Okay.
In other words, the feeling was always there.
Mm-hmm.
But it went to a level that I said, wow, I didn't know I could go this far.
Yeah. All right. So, but she wouldn't allow you to be intimate. So
no, not at all.
All right. So let's go back to when did she ask you to leave or did you decide to leave?
No, I decided to leave because what happened was I just accepted it for what it. I said, you really can't make someone love you. And at that point, we had purchased a new home, and we were supposed to move that next 3 weeks from where we was presently staying to the new home.
Right.
And I decided, I said, one thing, I can't do this, a mortgage with someone that doesn't love me. What am I, So I called a mortgage company up and, got they sent everything back that was put down, small deposits and stuff. And I explained to them. They asked me why did I want to cancel getting a home. I said, well, I'm going to separate and divorce. I said, but however, I don't want to stop my wife from getting because I have children. So at that point, the guy that she was dating, seeing, whatever it was you want to call it, her salary could not cover. She had to reapply, for the mortgage.
Okay.
So her salary alone was not, being that she was not working full-time anyway. So
her salary couldn't sustain the mortgage. So you're saying that
go.
She had the boyfriend apply with her?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so all this happened within 6 weeks?
No, I left from the country drive, and me leaving happened in 6 weeks.
Okay.
The other stuff happened with the home like another month later.
Oh, okay. So
in other words, 2 weeks after, exactly 2 weeks after I left, I went out to see the kids and give them some money, give her some money, because I couldn't give the kids some money. I would buy them things that they needed to take them out, but I always put the money in her hand. Well, as I'm walking out of my apartment, who pops up with a boyfriend?
Wait a minute. As you're walking, when you say your apartment, I mean, are you talking about as you're walking out of your marital residence?
Right.
Okay, yeah, because I just want to get that clear. So as you're walking out of the marital
where my
residence,
wife, my family, where I was living.
Okay.
In other words, I had left, but I came back. You know, it was still my place. Rather, it wasn't her boyfriend's place.
Okay, so you're leaving, and the boyfriend. So that quickly, she brought the boyfriend around.
Yeah, that quickly.
So she brought him around, and the kids also met. I guess the kids had met the boyfriend too, then, huh?
Well, they obviously did not approve of it.
No, the question is obviously they met them. That's what I'm asking you. They met him. Okay. So let me ask you a question. I want to go back because so we can understand what your living room arrangements were. When you decided to leave, you had a place to stay already?
No, I didn't have no place to stay. The only place I could go to was my mom's, and I came here. I stayed there for 2 weeks, and the reason I went there because it wasn't that I didn't have the money to find a place. It's just hard to find a place, and so I found a matchbox to live in. When I say a room, believe me, a room. 7 by 10.
Okay, so when you left your marital residence, you didn't have a place of your own, so you had to go stay with your mother for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the only place you could find was a one room. Was it like a boarding house or something?
You can call it that, but the kitchen is not in your private area. Your bathroom is shared with other people. I guess you can call it. I don't,
Okay, so you went from a nice place to live, then you went from your mother's house, then you went to one room.
A shoebox.
So, oh my goodness. So literally one room. You had to go out in the hall to use the bathroom. So you had a shared bathroom and shared kitchen, one of those situations.
The room is, if you've ever seen those in listening audience, see like in a movie, a jail cell and stuff like that. That's a little bit bigger than that, but no bars. I was able to come and go.
Oh. Well, that's good. At least you could come and go as you please.
Well, yeah, but the mental torture, you know what?
Yeah.
The breaking up a family is devastating, especially when you look at it, well, I'm not the one that want to break up my family. I'm not the one that want to be away from my wife or my children. All I know is them.
Right.
And I truly love them. Even at this point, if you listen to yesterday's interview, the fact, the truth, if it's pretty, it's good. It's whatever it is. If it's ugly, it's not me being negative or being evil, speaking evil things about a person. Whatever the truth is, it is. And so, it's like it's your reference. It follows you. So what happens?
So I want to stay on track with something though, because I want to ask you some questions towards the end. But when you had to the first night that you're out the house totally, permanently, how did it feel? And I'm asking you this question because I asked a number of men this question. And the question is, when you leave your marital residence and you have children, the first night that you have to stay away and you wake up in the morning and your kids are no longer there.
I am so glad you asked me that because you just remind me of something I probably wouldn't have remembered to put in. The very first night I knew it was over and stayed away, my stepfather was painting the kitchen, and he asked me, he said, would you like a glass of wine? And I said, yeah, that sounds good. He said, okay. I said, well, he didn't have any, so I had to go to the store to get some. Instead of buying wine, I went and bought a quart of whiskey. So when I came back, I said, okay, I have the. So he looked. He said, what you got? He said, I thought you were gonna get wine. I said, no, I got something a little bit stronger. He looked at me, and he never did look at me. He just kept. He said, whatever your problem is, when you finish that bottle, you're still gonna have the same problem. It's gonna be worse.
Mm.
I took that bottle and emptied it in the bathroom down the sink.
Mhm.
From that day on, I made it a point to keep my head straight and to work on my mind. I mean, I would go out and, to be honest, I mean, you could see people that, even if you didn't know me as a person or know my name or whatever, you could see there was something, I was disturbed deeply.
Of course.
Something was going on that you could see a hurt person.
Of course.
And that lasts for quite a while.
So that night or that morning when you woke up, because when you were home, when you would wake up, you knew that your children were going to be there. Even if you got up and they weren't up, you could go in the room and check on them. And even if you got up and you didn't check on them and they weren't up, you knew at some point they're going to come downstairs, hey, Daddy, and you're going to have that interaction. How did it feel, though, that first morning when you woke up in that little matchbox that you called it, and you don't hear the footsteps of your three children?
Okay. It's like, you know, the wife is like the nucleus, the key. And
your wife. Mhm.
Yeah, my wife was like, you know, everything at that point. So everything like falls in line.
Right.
At that point, what you just said about the children comes into play, but not as loud and as clear as.
Not the same way, because right now you're basically telling me you're still dealing with that hurt that your wife is not there. That's what you were dealing with.
I'll just put it this way. I've gotten over that.
No, I'm talking about when you were in the matchbox.
Oh, it was a nightmare, Lisa.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When I tell you a nightmare, you know, you see someone go through changes in a marriage and they break up a lot of times, and it seems like most of the time it's the guy for whatever, and whatever reason you want to chat while what you may hear. But a lot of times the hurt and the devastation that happens to men, I mean, what happened to me, I had a family that was very concerned about me, very, you know, loving and supportive, and they knew that I was in love with my family, my ex, and I did the best I could possibly do, maybe, to save it.
So, once you were in, you stayed in the matchbox. Now, how long did it take you to get an apartment? Because you went from your marital house, you went to your mother's house.
Let me see. You know, what's funny about that question, I remember it quite well, but you kind of get to the point where some things don't matter as much because you're trying to rebuild something greater than an apartment and someone you lost in your life.
Right. And, okay. So let me ask you this question.
Maybe 7 to 8 months, I did find a nice place.
But it's so profound. I'm telling you, it's something I never thought about until in the pre-interview you shared this with me. I never thought about, and I guess my thought process must be a little foggy. I know that I've known men who've had to leave their homes, and I never thought about the time and effort it will take for them to actually find a place that they can live. Because I know it's not that easy, but I just never thought about that. I know a gentleman friend of mine who had left, him and his wife separated, and it took him almost a year. He found a place to live in the interim, but it took him almost a year to find a place first of all, that he could afford to live in. That was nice. And secondly, that would be somewhat centrally located so that he could still go back and forth and see, his children. I think that sometimes we don't think about that. Okay, I may not want you to stay in the house any longer, but what it's going to take for you to find a place.
Once you leave your home and your relationship, you have a foundation, and it's not just the physical thing that you have. You have your emotions are tied so deeply into your family, into your everyday life, and so when that's ripped from under you, and the reason why I said ripped from under you, because I didn't do it.
Yeah, you were forced out.
It's like I'm not sabotaging, If that's ripped from under you, and to be honest, any marriage, either or has that capability, the power to rip it from under you. And ripping the relationship apart is very easy. It doesn't require any tools, just a mindset. Just to say, I don't want to be with you, I don't love you anymore, and everything comes tumbling down.
Let me ask you a personal question, because we get ready to close. And you've already told me, but I just want you to share this with those who are listening, because sometimes when people separate and they divorce, sometimes people have ill will towards each other. You've never remarried, correct?
No.
Do you think you've never remarried because you never found anyone who makes you as happy as your ex-wife made you before things, went awry?
I think so.
So your ex-wife was like the love of your life?
She was.
Okay.
And of course, there's a different level of feeling, but I have no resentment at this point on wishing her anything, bad, evil, negative, or whatever, because we are entitled to do whether it's right or wrong. I'm not the enforcer of another person when it comes to being with me or not. You can't make that happen. You can't force that on a person. It has to happen naturally. That's the reason why we were married and had a family, because it was a natural occurrence that happened in both of our lives. And I believe I'll speak on her behalf by saying, if she didn't love me, I don't think she would have married me. I was giving her a castle in the sky.
So you still love your wife to some degree?
Oh yeah.
All right. And I know you had told me. I know you told me last week that not only do you love her, but you pray for her every day, and I thought that was commendable.
Yeah, because Lisa, I must say, as we live our lives, it's not just me. This world is not me. It's that great things we can do from just wishing someone else well, from giving your blessing to them in spite of their wrongdoings a lot of times. Because, we all make mistakes. I made mistakes, but I didn't break my relationship up. My mistakes I made maybe in life were not that costly to cause problems with, when my children see mother and father separating. That is a tremendous hurt. I gotta cut you off because we gotta wind down. Literally, I got about 40 seconds, and we're gonna pick up tomorrow. I think tomorrow let's talk about the issues of when you have to leave and your children are no longer with you, and that right there I know tugs at your heart. That right there, not being under the same house, even though you still were able to see them, and everything that goes with that. I want to thank everybody for listening to Open Heart with Lisa. Tune in tomorrow. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Open Heart with Lisa. I hope you do. Go on Facebook or go to my blog, www.openheartwithlisa.com.
Again, write some comments. I thank you for listening to Open Heart with Lisa, where his heart matters. God bless you.